Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. It's so nice to see you all. Thanks for being here. Thank you, Brandy, for facilitating this. Thank you, folks, for being here. I'm Joyce Robinson, Assistant Director here at the Palmer, and I have worked with both of these folks. It's been a number of years that we have worked together, and so we're very pleased to welcome Sarah Rich and Micaela Amato. Sarah Rich, Associate Professor in the Department of Art History, as I'm sure you all know, specializes in art after 1940 and is director, I always have to write this down, of the Center for Virtual Material Studies. And Micaela is artist, author, curator, and Professor Emerita of studio art and women's and sexuality studies, gender and sexuality studies. And I brought some visuals here because I've been here for almost 30 years, and I maintain that the best shows that I've ever worked on are shows that I have done collaboratively.
Yes, absolutely.
With you two, with Jennifer Wagner Lawler,
Yes,
with
yeah.
Chris Reed, with all sorts of folks. And so 2003,
I was a baby.
17. We
Yeah.
curated this show together, and then Micaela and I worked on Couples Discourse 2006.
Yeah, and I have to say, every time I would go back to New York, friends would say, I have at least a dozen friends, artist friends, who want to be in the next Couples Discourse.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
You know, seriously.
Yes. And we only had one divorce. And it's true.
It's true, we had one divorce.
That's amazing. I also have essays in that catalog.
And Sarah has essays in that catalog. That's true. That's right. We worked on all of these together. And then this splendid show featuring alums, Uncanny Congruencies, that really Micaela was the driver of, but Sarah has an essay. I have an essay here. This was a great show. And because you all are here today, we have party favors. You get a copy. You get a copy. You get a copy. Anyway, got extra copies of these if you would like to take one. They are here, okay? Of the Uncanny Congruencies catalog. So, thank you both. I appreciate
Thank you.
And
you've been great, Brandy. Thank you. We could not have done this without you. So thank you.
So let's welcome our
Thanks, Joyce.
So I should start, I think. And I have prepared. So I'm Sarah Rich, Department of Art History, as Joyce just mentioned. I've had the good fortune to enjoy and think about Micaela's work for many years. And I just wanted to share a few thoughts about it. And I hope it doesn't come across as too dry or academic, but I want to do it the full justice and briefly summarize a few of your many achievements. So I just wanted to remind everyone that Micaela is Professor Emerita of Art and Women's Studies at Penn State. And in the times that I've written on Micaela's work and thought about it, it has always been astonishing and interesting to me the extent to which she is collating, calibrating, and considering a wide range of topics, but also a kind of a very complex history that you manage to synthesize in ways that are astonishing, intellectually satisfying, and also very affecting on an emotional level. So I think this continues to be one of the things that really is an unusual achievement, I think, among many. Often you have kind of the intellectual work, you have the affective work. It's hard to really establish them in conjunction like that, and I think your work really does it. Okay, here comes some paragraphs. You ready? Okay, so Micaela's work takes on many forms, and she works in many mediums. She works with equally impressive results in neon tubing and paint, cast glass, wood, ceramic, photography, but the themes she addresses remain constant. Descended from Spanish Sephardic Jewish communities, Micaela draws upon her family's history of exile and cultural hybridity, referencing ancestry that stretches back from New York City through Iberia, Morocco, Turkey, and Rhodes, to establish a visual and material approach for contemplating diaspora, which is an extraordinarily important subject for us to be considering at this moment. I think we all have to agree. Diaspora in terms of long histories of displacement for populations, but also a displacement, migration, cycles of resilience, and in terms of diaspora's immediate effects and affects as one occupies an identity that is steeped in diaspora in this moment. So for part of her series called Ancestral Portraits, which actually we see an example of here, which includes cast glass heads, and I've thought about these and written about these before, that are self-portraits hybridized with historical works of art. They depict identities that are foundational to this genealogy. The glass that is poured and cast in molds relates directly to these themes of diaspora. As a reproducible form of sculpture, cast works are always already nomadic, right? Because they are objects that proliferate from a mold and are and announce always their displacement from an origin. Something is cast, and then you have a mold, and then you have objects that come from it. So it's always a kind of medium, unlike painting, where looking at the object, you're aware of a separateness from an origin point. In this way, Micaela's sculpture enacts the dynamics of displacement experienced by the figures represented. Also important, of course, though, is the materiality of the objects. The quality of the cast glass is especially seductive. They are translucent, not transparent, a little chunky sometimes, visceral, deeply colored, slightly opaque, jewel-like, which endows each of the heads, even though they're kind of a part of a reproductive medium. Each of the heads obtains an exquisite individuality, which is a non-reproducible character that to me insists on survival, flourishing, sensuousness, and sensuality. These objects also, though, are quite frank about their vulnerability, with slight cracks in the glass sometimes that are allowed to emerge. They testify to traumas experienced by objects and by people and by populations as they have made their journey through time, and they beckon our feelings of care and empathy. So her work is ambitious in scope as it incorporates narratives of international influence and exchange, yet also intimate in effects, as she tenderly approaches such narratives by way of personal memory and genealogy. It is a great privilege to look at them and to think about them and to discuss them. I'd like to add one other little thing that is, so when I first came to Penn State, Micaela was one of the most courageously hospitable people here. You made me feel so welcome. And you threw a gigantic baby shower for me when I first got pregnant, and I was huge. And when she met my son after he was born, and I presented him, I can't remember exactly the circumstances of my introducing him to you, but he was an infant and very small and, kind of in the kind of squishy baby, I think he must have been like 4 months old or something. And you said, his feet are like little sandwiches and his toes knees. And
I said that.
yeah, you did. And it was funny. Like you weren't trying to be kind of like, it wasn't a pronouncement. It was like this is fun. And it made you think it was a gift because it was early motherhood, especially when you're doing it the first time, is really hard.
Yes, it is.
And exhausting. And it was the first time where I realized that motherhood could be a poetic enterprise. And that was a very important thing for me to know. And so you did that for me. Thank you.
Oh my God.
So we are assembled here on the occasion of Micaela's book, which I'm to remind you we have an opportunity to have signed at the end of this discussion today. And there are copies if you want to get one and have the artist sign them. But you were going to do some readings from the book, and then we'll discuss them and take questions. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Good? All right.
Clearly you can see how easy it was to respond to Sarah and her beautiful little infant because of the kind of human being that she is. To have shared that with you, I think you pull that kind of humanity out of the people around you. So thank you. Right? Okay, so I'm going to read excerpts from my Silver Stories. Book 1, Chapter 1. She told me she wrote her stories across the walls of her room in tiny silver ink that disappeared and reappeared depending on how the light of day or lamp illuminated the silver lines. She told me several voices could be heard throughout her room, some softer and indistinct, while other voices and even words could be heard more clearly. Fragments of sentences unfolded, she said, weaving together mostly non sequiturs across time, across space. Sometimes making sense, the words provoked a gasp or a cry from depths of her psyche she hadn't known were there, needing to be released. Voices and text emerged, converged, or disappeared, depending where she stood and how she negotiated her space, she said. She recognized images from memories unseen but somehow known, all compressed, contained, and secured precariously between thick sheets of quarter-inch plate glass suspended on the walls of her room, hovering in between the stories written in silver ink, within the confines of shapes of shadows of waxen bouquets of flowers strewn here and there. Reading and rereading these silver words, she knew she was not alone, but in the middle of many destinies, many parallel worlds. It is written, they say, she told me. Hearing these fleeting voices as interjections, conversations she came upon, declarations of something real but still enigmatic, she wrote them down in the back pages of books that had neither provoked their sudden appearance nor explained their origin or purpose. Short circuits in her brain, senility of some sort, jolting her into her present coherence, or perhaps something far more wonderful and even euphoric, a recognition of her expansive soul traveling generations. These obscure interjections she later transcribed in silver text across the walls of her room. Tell me, please, if a crime happened decades ago, is it no longer a crime? Even if the crime, a rape, a beating, a murder, happened only once or maybe twice in a person's youth, is that a crime that should hound and haunt a person and ruin lives, like the crime itself that still hounds and haunts today? In 1965, while in college after an abortion of a pregnancy with someone I loved, who loved me, I went to a close friend's home to heal and for solace, she said. In the middle of the night, as I slept, he penetrated me, she said. I woke up to him inside of me. He had been my high school boyfriend, but I had never had sex with him. Having sex soon after an abortion can lacerate a woman's insides. He works in the White House now, she said. Should I go public with his betrayal, his crime? She asked me. Probably I would not, I told her. She protested, and almost unable to breathe, she continued her story. 2 years later, she was raped on a blind date. He was a friend of her close friend, Fran. But her friend, Fran, did not believe her. Should she go public with her accusation, she asked. I told her that I wished her story had been written on the walls of her room in silver ink so that they would disappear into the light of day. She told me that she cries every day. Her tears are tears of fear, of dread, but sometimes she cries tears of the most intense joy. She doesn't think she's depressed. She thinks she's responding to the terrors all around us, she said. I told her that I had read in the book Birds Without Wings that the dead can read tears. She did not respond. Together, as we stood in the forest, we heard a deafening buzzing sound and saw a giant beehive blocking our path. Bees were suddenly everywhere, swarming, stinging. Don't kill them, she pleaded. Don't kill them. We need their honey. She caught her tongue. She knew that she had been trained to think this way, that creatures of the wild are here for human pleasure, like sweet, rich honey. Another kind of rape? Much later, wanting to share something of myself, I told her about my studio of paintings and sculptures that I titled Where All the Land is Sea. We are island people. We are exiles living nomadic lives across shifting continents and seas, I told her. Sometimes I make ancestral portraits, I explained. She looked confused as I spoke. Sometimes I make oil paintings like Byzantine water, and sometimes I make life-size portraits of my ancestors in colorful cast glass, like ancient Egyptian Fayum portraits and faience scarabs, amulets, hamsas, and the evil eye. Light of day or light by lamp can disappear their mass, I told her. Oh, okay, I see, she said, like the exiles themselves. Yes, they are my lamentations for the dead, I told her. Yes, of course, she said. I am Duende and sing saudade, a deep song, I explained. Yes, of course, she said. I cry, America, basta. Mississippi, goddamn. Mississippi, goddamn. Chapter 4. I hear voices. You betrayed our love, our dignity, our future together so many years ago, he told her. I had no choice but to pretend we were over, she pleaded. You did have a choice. Years later, I told my family that we had remained together, she reminded him. I don't believe you, he said. They knew me and it was all okay, and then they betrayed us. It was for our safety, she said. So many couples were attacked in those days in the streets, in their homes, followed and beaten. Both black and white friends warned my parents that we were playing with fire, and they feared for my safety. Their fear was greater than your love for me, he insisted. I dream about our baby, she mourned. You betrayed me, he said. I betrayed us, she told me. I don't want to lose you. There was no response. Book 2, Chapter 1. My father was blind. 7 of 9 siblings were blind from retinitis pigmentosa. He was a photographer and he made 16mm films. I helped him in the darkroom, she told me. He was a man with paciencia, courage, compassion, and a wild sense of humor. He had rage, I replied. Yes, but he was a passionate reader, and as his blindness increased, he memorized his favorite books. He told me stories of Victor Hugo, La Fontaine, Montaigne, Dumas, stories of love, courage, and justice, she told me. His love for my mother was magical. She had almond eyes, he would say. Burl Oberon eyes, he would say. Ah, like Halime's gazelle eyes. Yes, my father was the ancient Turk Ertugrul. He wore a red fez, which I still have. He translated stories from Turkish, Arabic, Spanish, Greek, Swahili, French, Italian, but English could not capture Duende and Saudade, he would say. Do you know about the Hakawati? In Arabic, it means a storyteller who weaves a framing narrative, a magical fable, a hybrid tale, a fusion, a felting. A cross-pollinated odyssey so filled with love, I told her. I heard Americo Castro say that Spain is one half Catholic, one half Jewish, one half Muslim, she says. Think of it. That means these children of the Inquisition, these chuetas called pig eaters, moriscos, aljamas, anusim, these crypto-Jews and crypto-Muslims across Iberia, the Americas, the Caribbean, are not just Catholic, but they are the mythical red-painted devils. They are one half Jew and one half Muslim. I am you and you are me. Je suis juif, je suis Muslim. Muslim friends in Paris held signs of solidarity. Purity of blood has always been a lie, she says triumphantly. Purity of blood has always been a lie. Ubuntu means I am because you are, say the Xhosa people of South Africa. And the Mayans say en lak ik, which means you are the other me. Remember Velázquez, Miró, Teresa de Avila, Cervantes were all from Sephardic Jewish ancestry, she says. Can you see it in their visions? Ah, yes, I respond. Even the brutal incendiary Torquemada has Sephardic ancestry. Grotesque. And did you know Walt Disney's mother, who migrated from southern Spain to the U.S., ascends from a Muslim family in Almeria? Yes, we knew their family in Mojácar, she says. I say, sorry. They lived in shame and fear in their villages, where family names of chuetas were woven into Catalan childhood songs, haunting generations of Anusim well into the 20th century. Moses ben Maimon guided them through their traumas, generation after generation. Mashallah, inshallah. And it must have been Kulthum's mesmerizing voice that soothed their souls, I say. Yes, yes. We Hamas, Moors, and Jews, we adore Kulthum. Who are these people who emerge big as life in cast glass or glazed ceramics, interlocking mosaics, and in patterned paintings like densely woven Turkish, Moroccan, Persian tapestries and carpets, I ask? They breathe gravitational waves embodied by architectonic structures born from the ruins of war. They are fossils of migration, buried across continents and drowned at sea. They live in and beneath the floating homes of the Madan marsh people of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, she says. I see them layer upon layer, accretions of palimpsests and pentamentos and montages of memories, she says. They are knotted into spiraling neon light, like the silver stories that appear and disappear on the walls of my room into the light of day. These people dream cautionary fables of a treacherous, greedy Anthropocene and its wanton indifference to the reality that there is no plan B, she says, and that industrial waste capitalism must be resisted, uprooted, if we are to survive. Microbes and mycelium will flourish, but for us there is no plan B. No one hears you, I warn her. People are busy with other things. Trees and plants are interconnected through a web of mycelium, a fungus, an entanglement, a rhizome of communication, an intelligence that nourishes growth and warns of dangers underground. Yes, you can hear their conversations from root to root throughout the forest, she says. Fungi thrive on waste and decay. Yes, like dung beetles and bats and hornflies and sea slugs. They clean the earth as they eat. Did you know they call mycelium mushrooms trash monsters? And these trash monsters can even chew through rock and they can even chew through radioactive earth, and they can push hard, thrusting up to open air above ground, and then, as they digest poisons, they can miraculously blossom into colorful, succulent fruits, she says. Yes, yes, yes. I've seen them do that, I tell her. They are like miraculous coral life under the sea, but they are under the earth, she says. Most circular phenomena, sacred geometries, occur spontaneously improvisations like cantejando. Oops. It's my husband. Improvisations like cantejando, Giacomo Puccini, Gertrude Stein, Miles Davis, rap poetry, free jazz, she says. I noticed that, I say. Do you know Pierre Menard? She asks. Menard wrote Don Quixote word for word and believed he was writing it for the first time, she says. Yes, I know Menard, and I've done that too. We do that all the time, word for word, note by note. Ain't love grand? That's the secret of life, she says. Albert Einstein said his religion was mosaic. I am mosaic. Antoni Gaudí said, I am mosaic. Clarice Lispector said, I am so vast, I eat my own placenta. It's exhilarating how we are woven together magically and mythically, don't you think so? She asks. I smile in agreement. How marvelous, I say. Camus' The Stranger has been rewritten again and again. I've forgotten who wrote it before Camus, and who wrote it after Camus? She asks. Do you know that the number of atoms inside one human body is 10 octillion? That's a million times more than the number of stars in the universe that are visible to us from Earth, she says. Chapter 3. Living on another planet momentarily to survive, escaping Earth just in time, I heard a piano pulse spiraling deep inside my head, expanding and contracting, swallowed by the high-pitched rage and anguish of Nina Simone's strange, haunting voice, J'accuse, Mississippi goddamn, she cried. Living on another planet momentarily to survive, escaping Earth just in time. Go, she says. Do not stay. Go, she says. Go with Miles and August and Macy and Clarice and Hannah and Harriet. Go with Kulthum to release, to touch euphoria together. Released from generations of grief, pain, rage. Fight. Mississippi, goddamn. Chapter 6. Throughout my childhood, growing up in Queens, Bayside, basically, my second home was my father's Caribbean botanical gardens in Spanish Harlem, where I spent many summer days throughout the 1950s, sitting on the brownstone stoop, watching and listening, she tells me. My father grew medicinal herbs and prepared ancient oils and essences at 80 East 115th Street on the corner of Park Avenue for over 45 years, next to the covered markets under the raised train tracks. He spoke Spanish, Greek, Italian, Swahili, French with his customers from the Caribbean, Latin America, Africa, and Italy. My memories of that cacophony of voices, music, intoxicating aromas from food vendors on the street and from open windows, together with a heavy sense of powerful herbal medicinals, created a mesmerizing, pulsating sensory mosaic that continues to stimulate my soul. Reborn every day in my studio is that magical mestizaje of painting, sculpture, photography that mirrors my hybrid family of immigrants and refugees, so vast. Thank you.
I want to open it up to questions as soon as possible,
Yeah.
but that means I still have to talk.
No, talk.
And so I think, can I ask you just a couple questions?
Absolutely.
Even though we've just been looking at or listening to excerpts. So one of the things that's really striking about this text, in addition to its coexisting with images of your work, is the sort of the voice that's used, that it shifts frequently from the first person narrative to a third person, and quite unexpectedly sometimes.
Yeah.
And when you and I talked about it briefly on the phone a few days ago, I had guessed that maybe you were ventriloquizing your daughter. So who is it? And you had said, no, that's not right.
Well, in addition.
Yeah. But can you? That's right. Can you sort of elaborate on that a little bit? Sort of how is voice working in this?
Well, I have multiple voices, obviously, from what I just read. Multiple voices inside of me constantly. And they're all aspects of what's happening here. It's an argument with myself. It's a conversation that I have wanted to have. I've been asking my sister, who is 3 years younger than me, I've been asking her for, 50 years if she and I could write a book together about how we have very different perspectives, which actually is included in one of the stories. Because we have such different perspectives. I mean, it could be almost as if, in reflecting our youth, that we were, red and blue people. That's how different our perspective is. One is filled with love, the other one is filled with hate, frankly. And mine is filled with love.
Presumed.
Yeah. But that didn't work out. So
the co-author,
right? So I've been responding. I've been taking notes for, I'm 80, so for decades and decades, taking notes and responding to other people, but responding from a very, intimate reaction to what they're saying. So that's where the conversation comes from.
Are there moments where it feels like you're scolding yourself?
Oh, I am.
Or you're giving yourself advice?
Absolutely.
Which I think we all do to a certain extent. And I think as I've gotten older as well, I have come to realize too, this kind of polyvocal quality is really essential to the way in which we survive as people.
Yes.
Because I have here's who I am at work, here's who I am as a mom, here's how I am online, here's how, and they don't always perfectly match up.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a pathology on a certain level, but it's actually deeply and in a very important way, profoundly human. That in a way that I think is hard to capture sometimes. And I think it's sort of, this felt, the exact content was not familiar to me, but this feeling, especially at this stage of things, and a kind of curiosity about how people can survive things together and have radically different memories of it.
Yes.
The relationship between personal memory, family memory, recollection, trauma, which seizes you instead of you dipping into it, and then also history, which is the official narratives.
Yeah.
It gets increasingly challenging to weave those together. I think poetry comes to the rescue.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Because trying to get it to be a logical, cohesive thing is not, is contrary to how it is.
Yeah.
It almost has to be this way.
Yeah.
If it's going to be meaningful. Can I ask you, I want to ask you about silver.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I love the title Silver Stories and the way that silver appears, often in writing in this. But many of your objects are they cast in silver or are they silver?
No, the neon I associate also with silver.
Right.
Yeah, the neon light in text. And the illumination of that text.
So why silver?
Well, the illumination of the text of neon on the wall made me realize when I was having a show in Chelsea a number of years back, I had wax bouquets of flowers that I made, and I had neon on the wall also, so they were all hanging on the wall. But in the light, the light coming in from these big, windows in the gallery, created huge shadows without even lighting before we even lit the show.
Oh, interesting.
So with the shadows became a major part.
I bet.
So when I lit the show, I actually had to light them like the light of the wind from the windows, because I loved it so much. I had been in contact with a Moroccan novelist, shamefully, whose name is escaping me at the moment.
Keep going.
She was wonderful, wonderful. And she teaches in Philadelphia. And I read her books, and I took text from her books and wrote it in tiny silver ink in the shadows. Literally, I wrote it in the shadows on the walls. So that's where they came from. And it had to be silver because it had to be silver.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I mean, duh. I think as far as like the artist, this is the way artist thinking happens. It's like
didn't even dawn on me.
It has to be.
Yeah, and I had dark hair then, so it had nothing to do with my own.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of kind of like Bride of Frankenstein things I got going on. But it's okay. So as an art historian, art historian thinking is much more boring than artistic.
No, because you have many more interesting reasons why I would have used silver.
Well, yeah, okay. So let me lay them on you. So I think silver to me is, first of all, silver stories. Well, yes, it's silver stories just phonetically. Right. It has a very kind of low coefficient of friction. It's a kind of slippery
I love that.
language, and it kind of wants us to skate through words without them being broken up. Right, so it feels like it's a kind of anti-boundary.
Yes, perfect. Oh my God.
And so I like that. I also like, silver, especially for someone who's of Iberian descent, is this really profound colonial material. Right? It's about like Potosi and all of these mining communities in Mexico and South America where lives are destroyed, fortunes and empires made on silver.
Exploitation.
And so the idea of taking silver, which is very much about kind of imperial power, and turning it into this ethereal filament feels very not comforting, but just sort of delightful.
Well, I think that all of that was in the back of my mind.
Okay, good. Just to intuit these things. And it's sort of, if you make it too linear, then why are you doing the art? You're doing art history.
No, I work intuitively. I work instinctively.
Right.
And I don't plan. I just start working, even though I do lots of plans. They don't materialize in the way that the final pieces would indicate.
It's more effective research. It's a kind of understanding of materials.
It's nourishing me.
I love it when you talk about like silver writing on the wallpaper. And of course, when you talk about any situation in which there's a woman in a room with wallpaper, you go back
to Virginia Woolf.
Sandra Perkins Gilman in the yellow wallpaper.
Right,
and the sort of like entrapment of femininity, and instead, and the situation in which it's being discussed feels like, these are kind of awful things that have happened to this woman, but it has a quality of a kind of it's also lovely. Like she ends up producing something that's lovely. Instead of being contained by something that is lurid. And so it is it always has this quality of transcending, not in the kind of cosmic way, but transcending in a way of like being of offering surprise and surpassing,
breaking through shackles.
And then, of course, the final thing about silver for me is that it's alchemical.
Of course.
And that it changes. And it changes color with light, which is why it's great for photography. And it changes color when it registers stuff in the atmosphere. So it's a shifting thing.
It's a conversation.
It's a conversation. It reacts to
Yeah.
environment. It moves through time in a way where gold is like, it doesn't change,
Oh,
and that gets
interesting. Okay.
valued in a way that so there's this fundamental real conflict between gold and silver. Like gold's claim is that it is permanent,
Solid.
unchanging.
Yeah.
Silver
Oh, I love
is
that.
in conversation all the time.
Good.
And so, and I think in your work, especially when you're dealing with photographic images and things like that, they often seem to me to be kind of echoing this alchemical quality in each of the
Of course. Yeah.
Um,
Especially since I overlap. A lot of my photographs are overlapping photographs.
yes. Yeah.
So that's already shifting.
I'm seeing a hand.
Well, I just wanted to weave your initial questions because I think that the relationship between those two questions is essential for you to vocalize with the audience today. As your daughter, as someone who's had these conversations with you in so many different iterations.
So what are you saying? Say it again.
The relationship between your first and second question.
The polyvocal aspect and silver.
And silver, because the struggles and the euphoria you've experienced as a multidisciplinary artist.
Oh yeah, of course.
Who has been who lives these promiscuous crossings that the silver inhabits.
Yeah.
And has struggled so much in a world of linearity and a world that demands clarity, accessibility.
Yeah.
So if you could talk a little bit about that, and also in terms of your micro reflecting the macro, as Sarah's bringing up in terms of the mining, in terms of imperialism, and how the work is so simultaneously deeply personal and political.
Okay, make sure I cover it if I'm not going to, because I started showing in New York City in '74, and I had a very specific body of work that I showed. It was only after that well, actually, that's not true. When I started, when I brought my work to New York, I actually had 4 different bodies, 5 different. Actually, when I was a grad student, my Betty Woodman, Betty Woodman's husband George was my thesis chair, and he told me that I had to choose only one body of work or defend myself to the death. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, the next when I went to New York the following year, 6 months later, I went to New York, and in Ree Morton's studio, I set up several bodies of work. I had Paula Cooper, Nancy Hoffman, Rosa Esmond, what's his name? Anyway, on Madison Avenue, and 3 other people who came. I had a lot of people who came, but they were all interested in different bodies of work. They all wanted to show only one body of work, which is exactly what's happening in California. They only want my cast glass pieces. And even Jill Cornbly, when I focused on my paintings, even though I was doing other things in my studio, I only brought paintings to her. I had diptychs, and one was with self-portraits, and it was in the 70s. When was it? It was maybe it was that was 1985, something like that. Only minimal stuff was being seen at the time. I had a series of self-portraits as part of the diptych. She only, when she installed the show, she only installed the landscape, Byzantine landscape kind of water imagery. Lucy Lard and Marcia Tucker went to her and told her she cannot do that. She cannot censor me like that. They're pretty big people in the art world at the time. And she said, "This is my gallery. I can show whatever the hell I want." They thought it was appalling, and they thought it was appalling. However, over the decades, I continue to have that problem. And I cannot even imagine how other people can't see the relationships, the interrelationships amongst my work. Because, as I said, I grew up seeing people who were from India and Turkey and Africa, parts of Africa in the north, particularly Morocco or Tunisia, and and from
many
Spain
languages.
who spoke all different languages in my home. And the food that we ate, my family, we would get together and everybody, that's why when I started taking language in college, I spoke a Spanish that combined Greek and Turkish and Arabic words and a variety, and then when I went to Spain to an an artist residence in Spain, they made fun of my Spanish. They made fun of me. But this was my Spanish, and I thought, in fact, and I was told by someone here whose name I've forgotten, that in fact the Spanish that we spoke was actually the Spanish of the trade route throughout the whole Mediterranean and across the Silk Route. So my Spanish is actually the real Spanish. So I don't. I can't think in any other way. It's like having, how can you have any, never mind.
No, I agree. And there are we know there are market pressures that make
definitely
people want all of your work to look like this one thing.
Oh yeah, because collectors don't like
it's for a host of reasons.
They don't understand, so they don't want it.
Yeah. I think there's some artists now where I feel like that loosens.
Well, yes, because recently it became for a while more the thing that you're interdisciplinary,
Yeah.
After people were shaken up by Hans Hach, suddenly all of a sudden, things became a little bit, more rational / irrational.
But it seems like if there were ever a time for us to seek art that helps us understand what it means to be polylingual, multilingual,
and it's part of living in a democracy.
Yeah, it is. It's a really kind of an openness to a sensibility and a set of considerations that actually they're big enough to fill and require multiple modes of making.
Yes.
We need it.
We need it more than ever.
More than ever.
Because we're absolutely, exploding. And that's the irony of, and the irony and the beauty of who we are.
I want to give other people a chance to ask questions.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Do you always think in English, or do you, like, if you're creating a piece of art, do you ever sort of drift into Spanish or something?
Sure, I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm often recalling things that I have read, or places where I have been. Yes, definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you talk more about the cast glass?
Yeah.
Like, that is a tough material.
Yeah.
So what was that like when you...
Okay, so I made the pieces out of wax, and then Don helped me make the molds, and then we found glass casters, and we went to a variety of people around the eastern part of the country, and I just kept making my heads, finding the most beautiful people, and some of there was the electrical outage on the East Coast a number of years ago. I was having a piece made at Syracuse, actually, with somebody who used to be a grad student here, whose name I'm forgetting. Sorry, person.
Sharif Bey, yeah.
Pardon me?
Sharif Bey is in Syracuse.
Oh, no, it was well before.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But it wasn't Errol Willett, who was here in ceramics. Was it? It could have been. Anyway, I don't know. But the fact that there was an electrical, the kiln shut down while it was being made. So there were all these strange permutations in the glass.
Great. I love that.
Yeah, I'll show you sometime. Yeah, I don't think I have any of them in here. But yeah, so that was, and I accepted it. And a lot of glass people, so I was never a part of the glass community because a lot of glass people thought my work was too grungy.
Yeah.
you know.
Sure.
But because I would use, for instance, there was one thing that Donna and I figured out to throw glass, to throw the glass into ice water would make it curl up, make it coagulate, and that's how I got a lot of the hair that you might see. I don't know if you saw any of that.
So you shock it almost.
Shock it, right? Yeah. Anything I need to
Interesting.
add to that? No. Okay. So
And
yeah.
what are the materials that you're making the glass out of?
The glass was all.
Were there special materials that you would add to get the different colors?
Oh yeah, but that was all very traditional.
Okay.
What's it called? I forget the words. Yeah. Okay.
Nice.
I'm forgetting the words, but you know what's it called? The French words. Anyway, never mind. But that part was very traditional.
Are they hollow on the inside or are they solid?
Well, I had to make them hollow.
Okay.
Because otherwise they would have exploded.
Yeah, well, that's very I'm kind of interested in the hollowness of sculpture.
Yeah.
Right.
That's very weird.
It is very weird, especially because bronze traditionally, when you cast it, is hollow. Because otherwise you'd have all kinds of mishaps. Plus, you'd have a ton of bronze that you're wasting on the inside that no one can see,
especially
and it would be insanely heavy.
Yeah.
So it's hollow, and there's certain sculptors who have made a career out of emphasizing hollowness, like Jeff Koons, for example.
Okay. Yeah.
His pneumatic pieces and stuff are very much about pride in hollowness.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
And I think what's interesting about your glass pieces is that because they're translucent, it's sort of like you have access to the inside.
Yeah.
That is open and
sure, of course.
and yet protected. I don't know. The glass of it and the sort of access to the center of sculpture is very interesting.
Yeah, because you actually can see almost all the way through it at times.
I want to look at them up close right now.
Yeah.
To see how that works.
Okay.
But I can't.
Well, not right now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Follow up to that. The hollowness and seeing inside. Do you want to share a little bit about your two cancer diagnoses in relation to your art and that kind of seeing inside your own body in relation to the medical establishment and how you fought the medical establishment essentially by not conforming to their protocol?
Yeah, what and how does that relate to? I'm forgetting.
Oh, well, I'm just saying that in relation to your work, how you
well, for years I used spherical or like cells, like the body's cells, and I was diagnosed from with leukemia from turpentine. And so I tried.
Really?
Oh yeah. So I tried to turn things around here. I actually got Penn State to be qualified or whatever you call it from CAA until they stopped using turpentine. I don't know what they're doing now.
When was this? When did you do that?
In the mid-90s. Yeah.
So do you know this piece by Dennis Oppenheim? It's about art school. I forget the name of it, but it's a video of just his face here.
Sure. Yeah.
And in front of it it's on a television screen that's in front of a reflecting pool of turpentine.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he's got two pieces of rags stuffed up his nostrils that have been soaked in turpentine.
Oh my God.
And he talks about the smell of turpentine in art school. And he goes long enough that the turpentine is actively impeding his memory.
Oh my God.
And it's like it's this kind of like
for the performance of death.
Yeah. And memory, like the very materials you're trying to remember are the materials that prevent your memory.
Yes.
And it's like it ends up, I know but it's fascinating. I mean, fascinating how fascinating that there's this toxic material and I was using it. But it is, you have to be a badass to be an artist, I think.
Yes. Well, I was just reading about artists who are willing to court death. What was that? I forget what I was just reading. But I'll remember and I'll tell you later.
And then there were these movements often among feminist artists in the 1970s and early 80s, where they're insisting on like publications. They demanded that there be a publication in CAA about toxic materials in studios.
Yes.
And
well, I edited several CAA bulletins, the periodicals.
When did you? Okay.
And
this was in
it had to be in the very early 70s. One of them was on toxic materials. Another one was on the new affirmative action program.
Through CAA?
Isn't that their
Yeah.
newsletter? Their newsletter, yeah.
Okay, I will be talking
Oh no,
to you
let's see,
more about
College
that.
Art Association. Yeah.
Art Bulletin or Journal?
No, it was not Art Journal. No, it's
Well, they had like a newsletter. They had like
yeah, it's a newsletter.
I've seen them. They're
yeah,
like
I'll remember and I'll tell you.
We'll find them. No, I mean I wouldn't be, but
This is
that's
really a problem.
well, it's also weird when you're in front of a bunch of people and all of a sudden it's like
I'm trying to remember.
I'm trying to remember. That's amazing.
Yeah, but it was a very definite it was a definite part of my work. And I was given 6 months to 2 years, 6 months to a year to live, which is why Carr transferred from Sarah Lawrence to Penn State. And I was told to have chemotherapy and all the rest of it, but I decided to rebuild my immune system and also to take on the art department director, and to make them pay attention. And it was hard, but I do remember.
Was that Charles?
No, it was before.
Oh, okay.
And Jim Stevenson.
Oh.
And I do remember that Mike Christie and Gerald Davis told me that they loved painting with baby oil, which I asked them to clean their brushes with instead of turpentine. And they loved using that instead of the varnishes and the other stuff that they were using. So I figured if they could do it with their extraordinary skills, anybody can do it. Anybody can do it because they were very traditional painters. Expansive, but very traditional painters.
I mean, this thing about the art world, too. Like, there's no HR department in the art world. There's no OSHA for the art world. Like, we're kind of this weirdly, like, we're seen as radicals, but we're kind of the most free market part. We're the last totally, like, Wild West free market part of the
and we're
economy.
dying.
Yeah. And there's serious consequences. And it's sort of, where do you go to protect each other and yourselves?
Well, I tried.
There's a very famous article, The Air of Art is Poisoned. I think it was by Peter Busa back in the 60s. That was one of the earliest ones because he was sick from, different things they were using. And in Minneapolis, this watercolorist, not thinking of his name right now, an artist, used those colored ink.
Oh, you're right, the Pentels
things. Yeah. And those early ones
were very toxic.
He died from it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And then they changed all that. So,
But even so, even now it's voluntary.
It's voluntary.
It's an industry, kind of deal, but it's not.
And it's department to department.
Required by,
Yeah. So I might scout around and try to undermine the strategy because in foundations, kids were actually they were doing inflatables, gigantic inflatables, and they would iron the plastic to seal seams and then inflate them and then, put air into them. And you could smell it from the parking lot. And by the time I would walk from my car, of course, that was clean, but into the elevator and up to my office, my nose would be bleeding. And I do remember the director, although it was Charles Garoyan at the time. He said that when I went to the office with my nose bleeding with a rag, one of my tablecloths from my still life, holding, myself, to talk to him about it, he said that I was upsetting the administrative.
I'm sure it was upsetting. Yeah.
And that I really should take my problem somewhere else or something like that. So they were very resistant to change of any kind. But frankly, I'm just going to mention one quick thing. When I was 6 years old, I started taking painting lessons in Bayside, and I took lessons from Giuseppe Trotta, who wore a beret and a smock, and he only taught teenage people. not 6-year-old people. But he made me. My mother insisted. My mother was very aggressive, and he tested me. I had to draw. But he kept when he took me on as a student. But he kept calling me girly. He didn't call me by my name, quote unquote. That's a quote these days. Call me by my name. The book and the film, in case. So I one day said to him, "Please, Professor Trotta, call me Michelle, because I use Michelle and Micaela interchangeably. Call me Michelle. That's my name." And he didn't respond, but from then on he called me. So from the age of 6, I was going to be damned if anybody was going to insinuate them into themselves, their rules, their laws, into what I had as a sense of what was right, correct.
That's an
So,
amazing story.
well, I mean, it has helped me get through a patriarchy where I was, like I was the first female to become full professor here at Penn State, here in our college. The first female, yeah. And the first, when I taught at Wichita State University, I was the first female to be even in their studio department. And I was the head of the painting area. That's how I was hired. But,
you were suspended from Boston University for wearing.
Oh, yes. I was suspended from Boston. Oh, you remember that?
Yes,
were you going to say that?
You were suspended for wearing pants?
For wearing pants because I rode a bicycle, but we also wore skirts, way up here. It was 1963, and I was riding a bicycle to class. And so I would change in the back of bushes. Do you remember that? I said that. Okay. And I was suspended. My parents lost, I don't know, $25,000 for the semester. And then I came back, and then I was both a hero and a pariah, and they changed the laws. So it's very important. Yeah, it's just very important to maintain a strong sense of what you need to do. And my colleague over there, Dan, knows, because you have to fight the establishment in order to maintain our democracy and the health of our community.
And it's always reasonable and wise to believe in your own needs.
Yeah.
And that just because other people are telling you that they're unrealistic, that doesn't mean it's true.
Self-centered enough. I'm self-centered enough to think, and I wasn't spoiled.
Yeah, and you deserve respect. And
I mean, and we see that all the time. That people are not. Are we way over?
No, we are at exactly time.
And you were going to say something.
I was just saying thank you on behalf of women that Ted Younger. I benefited from your advocacy.
Yeah,
so it was really important.
It was in spite of myself. I mean, it's been hard. Many times I wanted to leave here, but it's hard to know where to go.
I'm glad you didn't.
Yeah. So we have to remember that when so many people want to leave the country right now.
Right. Yeah.
So we have to remember that. It's easier to be a fighter actually than to run. So thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Brandy, thanks again, Brandy.